Welcome to the Moments with Sade and Enoch show. And here today with me, I've got
Juliet
and our wonderful guest, Frama. It is so cold today, and I think that's why I'm not to be stylish, but just being practical. That's why I'm wearing a jacket today. Right. So on today's show, we'll be talking to Frama about parenting and career progression, how she has sort of managed all that. So I'm looking forward to hearing some of the joys and the challenges she's been through over the years. But before I jump into that, if you want to join us in the studio, you can call us. It's 0141 530 2787. You can also send us a WhatsApp or a voice note on 074 5990 6822.
And if you're on social media, you can send us messages. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your contribution to the subject. On Facebook, it's Jambo Radio Scotland. On Twitter, it's Jambo Radio 1. And on Instagram, it's jamboradio.scotland. You can also send us an email at info@jamboradio.co.uk.
Fantastic. I think we need to add thread to that list.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You can send us a thread. You can reach us anywhere. And actually, we need to add the physical address as well, so you can just come knock on the door and drop us a letter or something. Join us in the studio, because we're giving them all possible ways to join us, to join the conversation. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting conversation today. I've known Frama for a few years now, and the topic of parenting and career progression, I mean, I've experienced it, or I'm experiencing it myself, because I'm a parent, and also trying to navigate my career. And I was looking at some statistics before the show, just to sort of get things, throw some numbers out there. I'm a numbers guy, right? So apparently, most parents generally say, they find it tough bringing up kids, and then of course working. Then when we break it down into the numbers, 41% of parents say they find it tiring, raising kids and working. And then when you take it further than that, 29% of parents say they find it stressful to the point where it actually begins to affect their work. And I think that's very interesting. So I wonder if, I don't think I'm part of that 41 or 29. I actually enjoy parenting, but I wonder if Frama is one of the 41 or the 29, but we're going to be finding out soon.
Thank you very much, Frama, for being on the show. So can you just tell us who you are in 30 seconds? Tell our listeners who you are in 30 seconds without telling us what you do for work.
Okay, interesting. So I'm Frama Aboh. I'm a wife and a mother, most importantly, a sister. I'm a Christian. I enjoy singing, dancing, and I read a little.
Okay.
Interesting.
I like the fact that she said a little.
A little, yeah, I read a little. Interesting. So singing and dancing, because we're trying to jazz up the Black Scottish Awards next year, and we're going to be throwing out some of the entertainment, and we're looking for new set of entertainment.
You mean like dancing in your house, not like dancing performance?
Just pretend you're in your house. So come on the stage, face 500 people, and pretend you're in the bathroom, and just do your thing, and get paid for it as well. Pay well. As an entertainer at the Black Scottish Awards. But yeah, so I mean, I've known you for a few years now, and there's this, if someone should say, describe Frama in one word or two words, let's go 2 words. I would say unstoppable woman. You've got this energy that you radiate about you that comes across as just you're gonna run through bricks and run through wherever to get to your goal. If my assumption about you is correct or near correct, what's your driving factor? What gets you going?
I have this unstoppable passion to succeed.
Okay.
And I think that drives me, because I think by doing that, it's not just for myself, it's for my children, and it's also for inspiring others, especially in the environment that we are in when I can remember like every one of us here moving to the UK or Scotland years ago and not seeing people like us in certain positions or in certain places. That has changed in recent times and things are getting better, but it's that pushes me, to say, I need to do the best that I can to get to the best place that I can be to inspire others. So that's one of my motivating factors.
And if I can just piggyback on that, so I'm gonna dig deeper a
Yeah.
bit, because
Yeah.
you said what's driving you is the desire to succeed.
Yeah.
What's driving that desire to succeed? Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
what's the drive? Because you could just go about saying, no, I just want to live a good, decent life. So what's that innate desire to succeed?
I think it's because I think have been naturally like an ambitious person.
Right.
Right. Whereby I think like growing up and in uni, I didn't utilize all my abilities to get to where I wanted, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And since then I've been pushing myself, like I need to do more, I need to achieve, and I need to get somewhere, so like being very young, in terms of looking forward, I wanted to be a lot of things, including a human rights lawyer, but I've always known I was a corporate person.
Okay.
And I know that my current desire still is to be in a C-suite, right? So whatever C's that is.
Listen,
like
from
that.
we'll find a C. Hey,
You need to find a C.
the chef.
Yeah.
So be careful what C.
No, not the chef, but the C-suite. They call it the C-suite, right? So that is my goal, and I may get there or I may not, but the fact that I've done all that I can, to be there is good enough for me. That's,
all right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's perfect. So what was it like, settling into the UK like all those years ago? How, I'm sure that things were quite different then. Do you want to take us through how that was?
Yeah, it was a journey for me, and I think I've said my story. I am in different phases or different bits at different times. I moved to the UK in 2004, so I'm actually 20. Is it 20 years this year?
Yeah, 20
years.
Mm-hmm.
In October, actually, 20 years in October. And I was already a qualified lawyer in Nigeria, and I was saying somewhere, coming to the UK was not like a thing like my dad wanted for me. It was like, you finished, you're a lawyer now, you need to work, you've done everything, law school and all of that stuff, why are you coming? I was like, but then I had all this, people speaking to me about the UK experience, coming to school and masters. Anyway, long story short, I came here and
so you finished your degree in Nigeria.
Yeah.
What part of Nigeria?
So I went to, my uni was in River State, Port Harcourt.
Port Harcourt, okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
but I'm not from River State. Yeah,
Okay.
but my uni was in River State, Port Harcourt.
And
so,
where are you from?
Adamawa State.
Adamawa, okay.
So I'm from northern Nigeria.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting fact, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not fact. I ran into two northern Nigerian ladies at the last BSA. Actually 3.
Oh, really?
Which was a rarity, right? And I was so excited. I was chatting to 2 came together as sisters, and then one was just, she came by herself. And then I went to meet the one that came by herself, just chatting like, oh yeah, so where are you from? She said, oh yeah, she's from the north of Nigeria. I was like, oh wow, it's so exciting to see you. Like, you guys, there's not so many of you here. And she took an offense. She was like, no, actually, I would like to correct you. There's actually lots of us here. I'm like, nah. There isn't. But anyway, let's not get into the conversation. I was like, okay, if you look at this room, for example, there are 100 people here, right? There are only 3 of you here, out of 100. Yeah. So it's interesting to see another northerner that is not staying in Nigeria to run the country.
Very funny.
Anyway, I'll let you continue what you're saying.
Moving to the UK was trying to transition into law was difficult, right? I came to do a course in Lincoln, but then had to move to Scotland because I got married in 2005.
Okay.
So you met your husband here in the UK, or?
I knew him from Nigeria.
Okay.
But hope he's not listening. We hooked up again.
Well,
we hooked up again in the UK, but we got married in the UK.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So let's put it this way. So he followed you.
No. He was here.
So you followed him.
No. Oh, really?
Someone followed someone.
No.
That's how this love story can be good.
Wait. He was here. So he left Nigeria few years before me.
Okay.
And he came to do to study.
Okay.
And so we were not actually dating.
Okay.
Right. So we sort of, but I've known him around. He was a friend of mine.
Okay.
Right. So but we sort of hooked up again just before I was coming, kind of thing.
Okay.
So in terms of when we actually started dating seriously, that's if you're discounting phone calls, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nigerian international calls, then it would be in the UK.
When you're
Okay.
right.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
That's perfect.
So
we've got to wrap up.
yeah. So we moved to Scotland, and it became difficult, right? So trying to get into a good job. So I've done everything. So my first job was being a care worker, right? Back in England. Then I moved to call center. In fact, I was doing 3 at the same time. I was call center from 7:30 to 4:30. Then I used to do the care work, most times peak shifts or weekends as well. At some point, I now got another. I've done everything, just trying to find my way around.
And what's do you remember your most annoying, well, maybe not annoying, your most memorable call center conversation?
Oh, people! I was doing telesales, so that's hard, right?
Because you're
yeah. So
that's what Sade was saying the other time.
So just cut the phone, like they swear f off and then doop, and stuff.
Wow.
And what was I selling? Photographic packages. Oh. So you can imagine, but it was so ruthless. It was a ruthless environment, right? Because you had targets, and if you don't sell to your target that week, they sack you. So,
wow.
but so for me, somehow most weeks I got by. Well, I think the manager liked me or me and my friend, so she let us sometimes, But it was really like you had targets every week to me. But that was good because I've always it helps me in terms of communication, right? And building my British way of speaking, because
and the cultural nuances
exactly
as well.
Yeah. So I think that really helped me in that sense.
I got my cultural education, my UK cultural education. So you like yourself, you guys, and even Sade as well, you guys talk about how you started with call center jobs. I'm like, you guys are privileged. They never gave me those jobs. I never applied. Maybe my accent wasn't good enough. So most of my cultural education that I got was washing dishes in the back of some hotel and all that. So I met the proper British people, those guys that are like proper. So they gave me, so I learned the lingos and the abuses and the.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I can remember when I used to work in the call center, the manager will come and say Frama, because I used to say photography. She's like, no, Frama, it's photography.
Photography.
Yeah. So
That was why they didn't give me that job.
So I was corrected most of the time in how I spoke. But anyways, that helped me. Anyway, moving to Scotland, and I was trying to get into law. I tried to apply to the Scottish legal society, law society rather, in terms of converting to Scottish law and all of that. They told me I had to go and write like 10 exams or something like that. I'm like, 10 exams and stuff? No, I can't. It's too long a wait. And then I went down the route, because then I was already pregnant, had a child. But during my mat leave, because then I was working in a call center here in Scotland as well. So I had my first son, and I had the mat leave. I told my husband, said, okay, I could do a course in Strathclyde. So I went to try to qualify as a Scottish paralegal. So that was tough because I had a baby. So I used to wait till my husband comes back from work. Then we'll swap, and I'll go to classes.
Physical
Classes. I was at Strathclyde Uni and stuff.
And you were living in?
I was living in Denniston. No, I was living in Glasgow at the time, so it wasn't too bad. The commute,
so bad,
but it was still baby all day, dropping and then going to school in the evening. I can't remember how many lectures I had in a week, and stuff. So I did all of that during my mat leave. Got qualified as a Scottish paralegal to do residential conveyancing, but never still got a job. No, people just didn't give me a chance. They either said I was overqualified because they could see that I was a lawyer from Nigeria, and I was looking for just a bit of experience. Then I wasn't going to stay, so I was a flight risk per se. you know,
That's a new one.
Yeah, because they wanted to invest in someone who would actually stay.
Yeah.
You know, so they were looking for people, some people without, maybe even without legal experience, but just, you know, they can build them up and career and stuff. Yeah. And that's me trying to be, you know, pragmatic in the feedback I've gotten. I don't know who that recruitment agency was. One guy, he really tried. You know, he spoke to a lot of people, but no, I didn't get a job in law. So one day I sat down like, Frama, we need to...
Let's be realistic.
Yeah. We need to make other moves, right? If not, you'll probably be in your call center, you know? So I'm like, right. So I didn't know much about risk and compliance. Compliance was okay because, you know, regulations and it's close to law, right? But risk interested me more than compliance. And I was thinking, how am I going to get into that? You know, so I was like, right. I looked into upper bits and I was like, right, I need to get into financial services. How do I get in there? I'm like, okay, call center, you can get a job. You know, in one of the places I looked for a job in Capita, Glasgow, St. Vincent Street, and got a job then. It's in their customer services. I think I was doing business retentions or retentions team or something. So looking at some investment products. So I did that for 6 months. And then I saw a risk role, you know, controls tester, I can remember, came up internally. Yeah. And then I applied for it. Of course, I got bounced because they're like looking at your CV, like, you know, from where to where, you know, you get mine. Like, you've just been here, like, I was just there for 6 months. So that was the only financial services experience that I have. Before then, it was call center. I think I did some IT work back when I was in England, you know, and then care work. Although I removed the care work from my CV, you know. So you know, they bounced it off. I sent it back again. You know, I applied again, and because then I wrote, you know, like an email. I think I've said the story before. Then the manager had to phone me, like, can she have a word with me, you know, because I've come back again on this role. And then she opened my CV and then she showed me, like, look at the job description. Look at your CV, nothing really matches, right? But then she was like, okay, tell me what you do currently. So I was telling her about what I did, you know, like, you know, some quality assurance in terms of what I was doing and business retention. But she was like, right, there's some transferable skills, right? And maybe my background as a lawyer, you know, but I don't still have enough experience to do that. However, you know, it's a role and she can give me a chance in terms of shortlisting for the interview. How I do that is up to me because it's going to be like 2 stages and all of that. But I think she also spoke to my manager then. I can't remember her name. I think it's Anne Houston. Because I don't forget people easily, who actually probably gave a good word, you know, and stuff. So I got shortlisted. I knew some other Nigerian guy who was in like a quality assurance role in the company. I think he helped me. His name was Pius, I can remember. And he told me stuff and all of that to help me and prepped, you know. So I prepped for the interview. I had to do a presentation and all of that. And fortunately for me, I got the role. I was probably paid a list, right? So it was like I knew that they were paying me peanuts because I had no experience. But the fact that she gave me a chance, and her name, my manager's name was Sandra. She gave me a chance, and I know she did, right, on that role. And that was a big thing for me. And that was how my career really started.
Awesome. Yeah. That moment, right? It's funny. That moment where you say this was where my career started. It's always interesting. Like you've done a lot of things, but that's the point where you're like, okay, the career I have now, this is the point where it started. And so I was just going to ask, so jumping back to kids, so because we're trying to sort of wound parenting and kids. So at this point, second kid in the picture or just two, the one? So for that first one, one. Once I had my son Joseph for the first one. And how was it then managing at that point, because we're talking of nursery and all that, and there was no parental support, grandparent support? So it was me. I think for the first one it was mainly me and my husband, and it was nursery, it was childminder, it was anything that worked at that point in time, or people who could help you, you know, your Nigerian friend who would help you look after the baby. I can remember when I was in Capita, my friend BC, her aunt used to help. So I used to come with my buggy,
in the morning with two of us, in the morning waking up pushing our buggy because we're trying to get into the bus because the buses will not stop because there are two buggies standing. You miss two buses before you get, oh my goodness. And we'll go to BC's house and have this thing with her aunt who used to help us look after the two kids, my friend's kids and my friend's daughter and my son at that point. So we had to utilize all the help that we could, and remember at that time we're probably all still starting off. Nursery fees have always not been easy, so you do maybe 2 days in nursery or 3 days in nursery and then 2 days of someone else trying to help you out. You just need to juggle. So it was a juggling act,
and that's planning something new every week. Okay, where's it gonna go this week?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's interesting what you said around, like, stories like that are really interesting, because if someone sees you now, so for example, Juliet just met Frama, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, she's a blah 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 in this blah 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 place, and like, wow, she's really crushing it. But then we don't remember the time when you were waiting for the bus, and you had to miss 2 buses just because of boogies. Those, and that's why I tell people that are just starting out, I'm like, just take the pain. It will pass. It's not permanent. Like for some of us that are maybe more ahead on our journey, we've been there. The running for the bus, those frustrating moments when you can't even afford to buy a car because you can't pass your driving. So just take the pain. Just know that you're just writing a story that you can. It's just for a season. All right. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, the thing I was going to add to that is, like, everyone has a backstory, right? So I think I was talking to a group of people maybe last week or so, and I was saying I was a carer. I used to be a care worker, and everybody going like, right, I'm like, I did it.
They just can't picture.
Yeah, exactly. So
finished product.
Exactly. So it's interesting, but so when people talk about it and talk about the challenges, I understand because I've been through that. So it's, everyone has a backstory. We just didn't come and it was all, I don't know if people just come and everything falls into their laps, but it didn't for me. I had to work my way up.
That's good to hear that. So still talking about juggling, right? While you were doing all of this juggling, trying to build your career at that point, and then parenting, do you have like any very fond or memorable stories that you always look back to and say, I don't forget this?
I don't know if it's fun, but I have many stories.
Share.
It's interesting because how I said I got my first risk role in Capita. So 2 years after then, I got another job in risk, which I thought was the right move. So then I was now going to work in Edinburgh. That was for another for the first American bank I worked for. The way this worked out was I was on mat leave for my second child. Right. So
you're just on fire.
So I was heavy. It was during the crash, economic crash, was it?
07,
08. And so this was probably 2010, right? Because I had him 2010. So there was a crash, and then after then jobs were hard. So I was thinking, right, I wanted to change roles from this Capita. I thought I gave it 2 years. I've had 2 years of risk experience. Then it's time to see where to move, because I knew that I wasn't earning enough there based on my role. I could earn something else elsewhere. So during, I was on mat leave, really heavy, about to have a baby, but I was like out of boredom. I'm like, let me start applying. I can tell before you finish, you get something else. So I applied for roles just before I had my second child.
Okay.
3 weeks after I had him, I was called for interviews. So it was not a debate. I just had this baby. Should I go for interviews or not? So I think I had my mom then visiting. She was like, my husband, like, go, I can tell. So I went for 2 interviews whilst my baby was 3 weeks old. They didn't know I was on mat leave. I just went for an interview because I didn't feel I had an obligation to tell you. I got both roles. So I got both jobs. And then it was not a strong decision on, do I not take it because my baby is small, or do I lose the opportunity? Because these were giving me a lot more money than I earned at the time. And everyone was talking about how jobs were hard, and all of a sudden I had 2 offers, very good offers, and I sort of played both in terms of competing in terms of salary. And Abel, who was my husband, was like, okay, I think you should go for it, because if you lose it and you finish your mat leave and don't get something else, then you probably regret it, right? So I went back to work rather than staying the whole mat leave, I went back to work when my son was 4 months old. I started a new job and they didn't know I had a baby. So they absolutely didn't know that I had a baby. I mean, it's not because I didn't have the obligation to tell them. So you can imagine that. And I was commuting from Glasgow to Edinburgh. So my mom was going to help me for like a month or two, so she stayed back. So as a mom, it involves expressing milk before you go. A lot of milk, in the fridge. And I wasn't taking the train, I was taking the bus. I was leaving home like 6 o'clock in the morning, So I at work, I'm expressing milk out. Sorry to people, and stuff. And always rushing back home because I knew I had to breastfeed this child because I was still breastfeeding stuff. And I had a younger one who was 3 years old also in nursery. So that was a long ride. And then the not fondest memory is when we had the beast from the east. Yeah. I was stuck in Edinburgh, right? And where I used to work at that time, because there's no transport to Glasgow, paid for hotels for staff because there was bad weather, you can't get there. I couldn't. I needed to go home. I was like, and that was when I knew I had a baby. I was like, I need to have a baby at home. I need to find my way back home because my baby needs to be breastfed, and stuff. It took me, I think I left the office 12 midday because they said everyone should go home. It was really, really bad. I got stuck in Polmont with knee-deep snow. It took me 8 hours to get home.
From Glasgow to Edinburgh.
From Edinburgh to Glasgow that day. And that was when I knew, right, I need to move closer to Edinburgh. This was becoming very, very difficult with two little children and trying to juggle that and work and breastfeeding, and you had a baby. And I mean, when my work found out, they said, you're just a mad woman. That's what they said. You're mad.
That beast from the east, was that the one in 2017?
I have no idea.
No, it's 2010.
2010.
Yeah, 2010.
Maybe I'm mixing it up with another one.
There's another one later on, but it was 2010. Because, there was one whereby it was groundhog. It was like minus 16. It was a huge lot of snow and
it's
stuff.
It's crazy, because I had a similar story. So mine was the one that happened after. So that was the 2017. I was working in London, and then everything kicked off. Everything was just getting cancelled. So I had flights that was supposed to get me out of London that night. Cancelled straight away. And I was like, right. So then there was this other guy that I've known from church. He was also doing the same commutes with me, where doing few days in Edinburgh, 3 days in London. We're doing that. So I buzzed like, hey, are you still in London? It's like, I was like, okay, project, get back to Scotland, let's go. So I hooked up with him at the train station. So there was one train going up to Scotland somewhere. We're like, let's get on that train. So we go on that train. And then when it got to around, I forgot the name of that stop, around that Liverpool area, they just stopped. They're like, this is as far as we can go. From this point on, it's too dangerous. So we go from that train around that Liverpool area. So probably halfway, give or take, into Scotland. We're like, what are we going to do? Then we took a taxi.
Wow.
We wanted to get home that night. We took a taxi. We had the wheel and the way, and we had a bit of cash.
Exactly.
Jumped on the taxi, and then the taxi was just flying us on the motorway. And I remember my friend, this guy is a big guy, right? And that was when I started thinking there's something wrong with me. So it was so windy. The taxi was flying 70 miles per hour and it was swinging on the motorway. And my friend, this big guy, was really scared. And I was just laughing. And I was like, there's something wrong with you. Like, why are you not scared? So the taxi got us as far as Carlisle. And it's like, I can't go any further. Dropped us. So by this time, we're already coming to 11 o'clock.
PM.
So PM. And there was nobody. We knocked on every door. Tried every taxi. We're like, no, we're not going up north. It's dangerous to go up north. So found a hotel, crashed in some nasty hotel. Just said, okay, let's sleep. 5 a.m. we go up again. Still no taxi. Still no trains. However, because it was morning, there was a bit of light. So we're able to find this guy. He charged us a ridiculous amount. It's like, if you guys can pay this amount, I'll get you to Scotland. It was a dangerous thing as well, because the roads were dangerous, but the guy's like, I'll take the risk, you guys will pay. So we gave him the money. Off we came. I remember when I go home and Shadi didn't know I was coming, because I didn't even tell her I was coming. I just said, I'm stuck. So took note, it's on the window. She looked out. She said when she lit, it was later she was telling me that when she saw me, she was like, she thought she was seeing ghosts. Because like, how did you get up? Because everything was
groundhog.
Was that like ground? Was like, nah, it was that wheel and that wheel. I want to get home. I want to, because if we got stuck in Scotland, problem with us was it was coming close to the weekend. So if we got stuck in London, we're gonna miss our family for that weekend and have to stay in London and have to like, nah, I'm not missing my family. So we made it to Scotland, but that's besides the point. So I was gonna ask, making those decisions, and you've made reference to it slightly around, you had two young children, a new job, and all that. What has been your guiding principles around how you make those decisions around being a good, I don't want to say good mom, like doing the best you can for your children, but also doing the best you can for your career? Do you have a guiding principle of any type, or is it just making decisions as they come?
I mean, I think my overall principle for me is for me to be the best mom that I can and provide for my children, I need to work.
I like that.
So it wasn't, I know people have different, value systems and what pushes them, and some people is, looking after the kids full time is something they would love to do, whilst I'm happy for that. But I think, so for me, I like to work, and because I do that, I can provide and look after my children, and they tend to understand that, because if you want to go for those nice holidays, then mommy needs to work. I mean, daddy's working, mommy also needs to work. If you want all the fine things of life, then mommy needs to work. I'm not saying that is the only important thing, but it also gives me value, because I derive, as an individual. Yes, I derive a lot of joy from doing the things that I like to do, and one of them is being able to go somewhere and do something different on a daily basis outside my home life.
Okay, that's good. So let's talk about the employers that you've had like throughout this period. Can you talk about how they've either helped your journey or maybe made it difficult for you?
I think in thinking back, I think I've been a bit lucky in that once my career kicked off, I worked for organizations that had maybe good benefits in that sense, or standard, and I've worked in roles that were probably a bit more flexible. So if I needed to work from home one day because of childcare arrangements, then fine. However, there've been times that it has been challenging. I can remember I was told, because they knew I have young children, they used to give me like months in advance notice if I was to travel abroad, like outside the UK for work. Okay. So maybe I was told like 3 months ago, Frama, you'll be going to Poland in May for a week. But I was told 3 months because they knew I had little children. I need to make plans.
Right? Where's the most exciting place we've been on work trip?
It's to be honest, I used to like Poland. I used to like Krakow.
Okay.
Very strangely, I used to like Krakow.
Have you been?
I know. I had a friend that was staying there before she moved to Canada.
Oh, okay. I guess she never really liked it then.
I used to like it for the shopping. Anyway, there's something that I was trying to drive at there. In terms of sometimes it's difficult. So what happened then was I had planned, right, fine. My husband was working away in London, so I was the only one in Scotland with the kids. But because they've given me notice, I'm like, okay, I could ask my mom to come around and, be around for like a week. Or, I mean, she's probably going to stay longer, but she'll cover me that week whilst I go. And my mom came 2 months before, so it was all dandy. Everyone, tickets booked, work trip planned, that is it. And then my grandma died 2 weeks before I traveled. It's my mom's mom. And she was like, I'm sorry, dear, I need to go. And work was like, I'm really sorry, Frama.
You have to show up.
I have to show up. like everything is booked. What can they do to help? They're asking, but the what can they do to help is not, you're not going, is what they can do to help to aid your going.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And then it became difficult because then I moved closer to Edinburgh, didn't have like a network of friends. Then I was like area where I live now, Bathgate, Armadale.
How many days are we talking about here?
A week.
A week. Ooh, okay.
So let's say 5 working days, but
yeah,
because of the flights to Poland, it was a week because of the weekends, right? So it's like, what am I gonna do? I tried different things. I called nursery for even emergency stuff, but the problem is that I didn't have anyone at home for them to come back. His hubby was starting a new job, and he couldn't just take holidays and come back. So it was, so it was
dilemma.
It was something else. It was looking for options in that sense. But
should have called us though.
I didn't have that network, and work wasn't budging. I mean, they were nice. They were looking for how they could help me. But the problem is that they couldn't help me. They could help me, but they couldn't shift it because people are coming and everything has been arranged for you to planned already for you to go there. I literally had to. It was one of my in-laws had a friend who was out of a job, so I actually paid her to come with her own child to stay in my house for a week. I had to buy like a double buggy because her baby was like, I don't know, 1 year or 2 years at the time, and I had my youngest Gabriel, who was probably 1 or so, to stay with me for a week. Like, I'm like, ridiculous. It was a ridiculous arrangement, but that was one of the most stressful things I've been through, because I was leaving my kids. Like, I'm like, what am I doing? Work, kids. That's when you start. Sometimes you judge yourself on what is important to you. At that point, like, you're leaving your kids to. She wasn't a stranger because she's close to. She's a friend of a relative, but it's like you're leaving your house and kid just with someone just because you have to go to work. At that point, you judge yourself. I think. Yeah. I
get what you mean, but then what I'm pulling out from that is just the solutions-driven mindset. Especially when your worker said, this is happening, then you get into that gear of, okay, what do I need to do to make this happen? It's like just that. Because I think sometimes when dealing with people, when chatting to people, what I hear them talk about is the problem. And they don't get past the problem. You're like, you need to start thinking solutions, because the problem will always persist. How do we move forward? And I think that's something, again, because I've known you for a few years, you seem to come across as that person. You're almost like, right, this is the problem, there's nothing we can do about it, these are the options we can. And I think that's something we all can take on, especially if you're trying to juggle parenting and grow your career, is finding those roadblocks are going to come. You can't avoid them. It's around then bashing them out with solutions. Bottlenecks. And I mean, is it fair to say, this is 2024, things are easier for parents than they were in, say, 2010? Around flexible working, remote working.
I would say so. There's a lot of options. There's even, parental leave, shared maternity and paternity leave. There's more flexible working. You have ability. Some people work remotely fully now. Some people work 2 days in the office or 3 days at home. I think the maternity pay is also better. I can remember. As well. So I think there is a lot more, and organizations are more aware now, so there are lots of enticing benefits, policies, to assist, parents. So yes, I think things have moved on in that sense.
Okay, that's good. And I think that all of this happened after COVID. Because I know after COVID, a lot of employers realized that people can actually be productive, working from home, and that's when we started having all these flexible options.
Juliet, so basically what myself and Frama are telling you is, you're gonna have an easier life than we are. is what we're basically trying to tell you. Like, don't complain to us. Like, whatever you want to complain about is nowhere near as bad as well.
Exactly.
Where there are it's funny, like, I remember then, before the whole COVID thing, my company had flexible working, but my manager hates that stuff. So anytime I go to this guy just, it gives me that look of, you're not a serious person. And the funny thing is, I'm not going to mention his name, but maybe he would know I'm talking about him based on what I'm about to say. He was based in a different city than me. So it's not the case that we actually sat in the same office. Okay. And it was just me and him in the team. So me going to the office has no bearing on anything. So it just likes knowing that I'm going to the office. But the funny thing, after COVID, when we all got sent home, a few months in, he now sent me a message like, Enoch, this working from home thing is actually not a bad idea.
It's
I was
not
like,
actually.
thunder fire you.
It's not. Just to add to that, I remember the company, I was working for a software development company then when COVID started. That year that we had COVID and we're basically all working, we're now working from home fully. That was the year when we generated the most revenue throughout that particular company's history.
There you go.
So even now, like even after
They've not matched
everything,
it.
it's just like just stay at home as long as you have like your set targets, everything that your
Just crack on.
KPIs, and you're meeting them, you're good.
There you go. There you go.
So yeah.
Interesting.
But I also wanted to ask Frama, like apart from your core work, what else do you do? Are there like other activities that you do outside of work to support yourself, support your career, or to support the career of others?
So I like getting involved with different things, not like Enoch. Enoch.
Oh no, you do. I think you're trying to play it down, but I'll let you say your piece.
So I mean, with work, I do lots of stuff. With BPU and all of that. Outside work, I'm trying to translate most of what I do at work to outside as well, in terms of impacting the community or being more impactful outside the corporate world, because I've sort of built like some form of visibility in corporates, right, in Edinburgh, but I'm looking more for the community now, in that sense. So
you mean the Black community, yeah?
Yeah, the Black community,
Okay.
the minority community, I think,
And the women community as well.
Women,
Yeah.
So
Right.
so like I participate with like West Lothian African Women's Network. I try to support my friend Eunice. I'm not like a volunteer there, but she knows if she calls me up to do leadership, like I did a leadership talk with them, I would show up, or if she wants me to do something, I would show up, and I volunteer there as well. I do a lot of work internally with women as well. Attend
that.
other things outside, the Black community. So like I was like in the women in banking and finance stuff the other week.
Yeah, you had the awards ceremony.
Yeah, the
weren't
awards
you?
ceremony as well. So I'm trying to replicate my work internally at my workplace externally. And for a while, since I've become more visible, I'm getting a lot of requests to do lots of stuff externally. Like I'm supposed to be doing a podcast next week with
Victim
someone.
of your own success and all that.
And stuff. But to me, to be honest, it's more it's like I said, it's all about me telling. It's my story. If I'm able to talk to people, if I'm able to do something that makes a difference, that's important to me. And if people present me an opportunity to be able to do that, and I can take it and have the ability to take it, then I will take it.
Yep.
So yeah.
And I think these stories are important. So again,
Very important.
I'm not picking on you. So using Juliet as an example, so she is a few years earlier than you. So I'm sure listening to your story, and maybe other people out there listening to your story, they'll be like, okay, yeah, I get the challenges she's gone through. And even if they don't get it, as they go through their journey, they will remember some of the stories they're sharing. Like, oh yeah, Frama's gone through that as well. And then it gives them that comfort of, this is not new, other people have gone through this, so this too shall pass. When you have difficult situations at work, and let's find a solution, because that's what others have gone through these places, this space, or these challenges, that's what they've done. So I want to ask, around, you're now in a senior role. I mean, we didn't really get into that. You're now in a senior role within where you work now, and you also do all these amazing things you do, with women, with ethnic minority folks, with Black folks, and then you also have, I guess, 2 children in high school now. Yes,
high school. Okay.
How do you now navigate all this? How do you manage all this? I mean, for example, you said you didn't sleep till 3 yesterday, so I guess that's one of the ways you manage it. So, but yeah, tell us the secret, because sometimes when people see, I don't want to use the word superwoman, but when people see high achieving folks like you, they just go, how does she do it? Because I'm just struggling to get through 9 to 5, but she's got 9 to 5, 2 children, and she's always at all these events. How do you do it?
I don't think it's a magic formula, right? You just need to look for what works for you. So my children, my oldest is 17, so he's going to 18, so he's going to university soon, and my youngest is 14. So that has helped. right?
No more boogies.
Exactly. So I've sort of taught them to be self-sufficient. So just like today, so they're home and they'll sort themselves out for dinner because I'm not going to be back on time to do that.
Okay.
Are they sorting your dinner?
No. I'm sure
they're not there yet. Not there yet.
They can if they have if they decide
can be bothered.
Yeah, they can bother to do that. I think my struggle was when they were slightly younger. So I think and that is where it's. I think you need to have the zeal, to be honest. Because when they were younger, it was like in primary school, you had it's either after school clubs and stuff. So you find me, running from Edinburgh to get to. I know how many times I was reprimanded by the after school club because I came like past 6, 10 minutes late. Instead of 6, and I'm shouting the train was cancelled or something to pick up the kids and stuff and go back. And that was difficult when they were younger. But it's about finding what works for you and finding your, I used to call it my equilibrium, your
formula.
Yeah, your formula.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't think what works for me would work for anybody else. It's knowing what you're capable of doing and how you can do it.
It takes a lot of self-awareness as
well.
So
yeah, so I was saying yesterday with my brother, I reflect a lot. So I sit down and think, and I'm a thinker, so I think about things quite deeply and solutionize, just like you've noticed and you've picked on. So to me, it was like, right, okay. I was lucky that maybe where I worked there's a bit of more flexibility. So if I can't get things done on a Friday, I have my laptop. I'll probably have to pick up work at a weekend. I'm not advocating for that, but if I wanted my Monday to be less stressful, I needed to do that, And sometimes it could be coming back home, leaving work office a little bit earlier, so I can come back home, pick up the kids, settle them, and then log back in, Like I said, it's just finding what actually works for you, and some people it is maybe I need to work part-time for a bit. You just need to find a formula that works for you, because what you don't want to do is do so many things at the same time and then burn out.
Yeah.
So
or get exhausted.
Yeah, you get too exhausted. Yeah.
And I noticed that a lot of the conversation has been you, and I'm just thinking, you're probably going to get in trouble if I don't ask this question. So, you're going to get in trouble when you get home if I don't ask this question. So, how has, based on what you've said and where you are on your journey and some of the references you've made to this person I'm about to say, how has, I'm guessing, having a supportive husband or a supportive partner helped you on this journey of, from those early days to where you are now? Because I'm guessing that's a big factor as well.
I mean, yes, definitely. I mean, if Abel, who's my husband, has been, throughout the journey, and stuff, and like I said, I think I was saying for my first child, he needed to come back to work. He needs to hold the baby while I go to school, and he needed to have supported me to have done that, right? In that sense. The reason why you find a lot of I stories because he tended to walk away, but he knows that when he comes back, he needs to be able to pick up because maybe there are some times I just give him the baby because I needed to go and sleep or relax or my time kind of thing. You look after and the children. I mean, he does his own part as and when required, and that is important because we need to have a balance at home.
I think it's very important because I have a friend who is also very ambitious, and she would always tell me that it's better you have a supportive partner or no partner at all. Meaning, if you're someone who has, dreams and things that you want to do, just ensure that you have someone that supports you every journey.
I think it's important that you have someone that supports you. I think it's not a luxury. I think it's important because people either make you or sometimes they can help break you, I would say. That's heavy, and that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I'm going to say I support Sade, but she's not here, but I'm sure she'll believe. I support her from a selfish point of view because I'm like, if you make more money, it's good for us. So that's jokes apart, that's why I never get where they say some men or some women hold back the other. I'm like, does it freaking make sense? They make more money. That's more money for us to make. But hey, you know what? Maybe I think differently. But I'm sure you've got a burning question you want to ask.
No, just one. Or I don't know if Enoch has any other question, but what I wanted to just touch on is what's driven you to sort of devote your time to helping others? Because I know you mentioned the other things that you do outside work, but what's that driving force behind that?
I don't know. I think it's an innate desire of mine to leave like an impression. I don't know, an impact. Oh, you know, like when I was studying law, right, I always used to think I'll end up being a human rights lawyer just because I wanted to fight for rights.
So advocacy.
You know,
inside.
Yeah. So it's that thing. And I was telling someone recently, like I ended up not being a human rights lawyer, and making the changes I thought I would be in UN by now or something, you know, my little dreams. But I think if I'm impacting one person at a time, then that is fine by me.
It could create a ripple effect.
Yeah. It's just that desire to make a difference. And to me, if it's very, very, I mean, it's not a happy thing, but to me, if something happens and I'm not here anymore, you know, I want people to say she was this, she did this, you know, and she made this impact. Just a lasting legacy. I think.
Remembered one song. That Beyonce song, I was here.
Sorry, I don't know. Beyonce. Who's Beyonce?
I don't even know that song.
While you think about that song, so I was going to ask, and I was going to say first, I can guarantee you that you've impacted at least more than one person. I can name names, but we're not going to do that here. So you're definitely making an impact. As I said, I've known you for a few years now. Our paths crossed in some way, shape, or form 2-3 years ago, and it's been a journey of a lot of positives, I guess, on my end and at your end as well. So thank you very much for being the amazing person you are. Thank you for being a good friend. I guess I need to invite you to my house to be officially a friend. It's trying. I know you're a very busy person, but hopefully get around at some point. But I mean, we have a tradition here at Jambo Radio at Moment with Sade and Enoch, and I'm actually going to start a new tradition. So I don't know if I should start with Frama, which is to ask the guests to ask us a question.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good one.
Yeah.
They should come with a prepared question when they come along.
But then you want me to wing one just now?
Just throw one out. Yeah, you're our first guinea pig. You only have few seconds because we are now doing proper countdown.
Right. Okay. So since we're talking about parenting, what do you actually do, Enoch, to support in terms of your children?
Yeah. So I mean, it's funny. I actually spend more time with my kids than most parents. So, for example, apart from this evening, so if I wasn't here, I would have been. Today is Wednesday. I would have been by the sideline watching him play football. So it's Monday football, Tuesday athletics, Monday to so. Football, athletics, Boy Scout, swimming. What else does he do? He's dropped some stuff now, but he's full on, and I take him to those things.
Right.
Okay.
And I enjoy it. You know, some parents complain about it. I actually enjoy it because that's the time I get to spend with him. It's just me and him. So we have these our boy things that we do now.
We have 2 children. You're talking about him.
Yeah. So Sade looks after the girl, and it's just coincidental. we didn't go. You look after the boy. I look after. It just so happened because when Costa was the one that was growing up first. So I jumped in first, and then since I was already looking after her, and when she was then coming, then Sade looks after her with her. What does she do? So she does athletics and gymnastics and those things as well.
Yeah.
So I prioritize, and the way I'm able to do that in the evening is because I start my day at 5 in the morning. So by the time the world wakes up at 8 o'clock, I've already done 3 unadulterated hours of work, which sometimes is equal to what some people do in a day, because it's just like bang bang bang. And me personally, just as you said, you need to know yourself. I know myself. Sometimes I'm struggling to get something done at 5 p.m. I go to sleep, wake up, and I'm not joking, I get that thing done in 2 minutes at 5 a.m. because my brain is super razor sharp. So that's how I get through that, and then I get to spend a lot of time. I love spending time with my kids. It's crazy. And even at home as well, I love creating memories that, again, from a selfish point of view, where I can look back and just be like, yeah, we had fun, we had a good time, you know. So I create content as when they're at home. I'm just doing videos of us playing, messing about and stuff, just so that I can look back. So one thing I also do, I started about 4 years ago. Every evening before the kids go to bed, I'll gather them, just 3 of us. Although Sade throws her head in sometimes, I take a picture. I want to do it such that by the time they get to 18, I can have a collage over 18 years of them sense. Growing. So I try to do this stuff, and so we're going out of time. So I'll quickly drop second tradition, which is an old one. Yeah. We have a tradition here where a guest shares advice for the next guest. So the last guest, and they don't know who the next guest is. It's just they just leave that advice for whoever the next guest is. So the last guest, Tosin and Agogo. Ogunlesi. I think you know Tosin. The advice they gave is put God first in everything. So
there's a second advice as well.
Oh, there's a second one. Okay.
Yeah. So I think Tosin also said have a bias for taking action and just do it.
That sounds like Tosin. That's heavy. I'll let you process that. But while you're processing that on your way home, do you want to quickly give an advice for our next guest? And we are now in like 60 seconds countdown.
Be courageous.
Be courageous.
Okay. Yeah.
Fantastic. We share that with her, and it's interesting. I think it actually suits our next guest nicely based on what he's doing. And it's funny how these things actually fit whoever is coming
That's
next.
True.
However, so thank you very much. It's been an amazing evening. Frama, thank you very much for coming all the way from the East Coast to join us on the West Coast. I know it's a big journey. There was a time you did that journey in 8 hours. So I'm hoping today going back is gonna take you 45 minutes to get back to your side of town. It's been myself. I give myself a new name, the human Enoch, and the amazing Juliet, and our wonderful superwoman Frama. Until next time, thank you.
Thank
God
you.
bless.
Thank you all. Thanks.